Abby Jarvis.
Oh, hi. Welcome
Abby,
to everybody.
I thought we'd surprise you. Abby
Oh,
Jarvis is a writer, speaker, and self-described fairy tale enthusiast based in Lakeland, Florida.
Abby is the primary writer of Neon One's benchmark reports, including this year's recurring giving report.
Abby is also an expert in gardening and plants and making various potions. So if you ever decide to really cross her, just remember that she can poison you.
oh my gosh.
We are the Neon One content team led by this wonderful young lady, Abby Jarvis. Our job now is to get out of her way and let her get to work. So, Abby, take it away.
Thanks, guys. All right, everybody. Welcome to this session. I am so excited that you're here. I'm really looking forward to sharing some brand new research with you. We literally just published it this morning. And we're going to look at how you can reach monthly donors on Giving Tuesday and during the end of the year. So my hope is that you leave this session excited about starting or expanding your monthly giving program during the end of the year specifically. So again, my name is Abby. I work with Neon One, and more than anything, I am fascinated by understanding what motivates donors and how nonprofits can use that information to build better relationships with them. Okay, before we really dive in, I want to give some context about the data that I'm going to share with you today. So we wrote the recurring giving report earlier this year. When we did that, we looked at more than 111,000 recurring donors who made recurring gifts over 5 years. In that study, we found that November and December were two of the most popular months for recurring gifts. So that was really exciting. We know that people are going to make monthly gifts during this time of year. A couple of months ago, we looked specifically at donors who set up recurring gifts on Giving Tuesday and during the last 3 days of December. And we looked at those 4 days in both 2022 and 2023. So that's 4 days each year, 8 days total. Now, because we looked at that smaller date range, this gave us a smaller data set overall. So this data set, when we look specifically at Giving Tuesday in the last 3 days of the year, that includes data from around 2,000 donors to about 1,800 nonprofits. So smaller date range, smaller group of people. Today, I'm going to share some insights right up front that draws from that smaller set of year-end donors. And then I'm going to share some insights about donor retention and motivations that come from that larger 5-year study. Now, you may have noticed already that I have used the word recurring instead of monthly a couple of times, and there is a reason for that. Today, we're going to talk about monthly donors, but a lot of the donors in this data set, well, most of the donors in this data set gave on a monthly basis, but a handful of people gave on a slightly different cadence. Some people may give quarterly, some people may give annually, some people gave biweekly. So if you hear me say recurring or monthly, I'm using them kind of interchangeably. That's some important context. Now, I can see in the chat, I want you to tell me, do you have a monthly giving program already? You're thinking about building one. If you have a monthly giving program, how many monthly donors do you have? I'd like to get a feel for where you all are and what you're up to these days, and I will try to tailor my recommendations for you based on what you tell me today. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. I think there's a little bit of a lag. Oh, good. Mallory has a recurring giving team. Josh, I do make potions, Josh. Not set in stone, would love one. Great. Gabby, you would be amazed. Most of the people in this data set, I really think kind of fall to where you and Stephanie are. Hoping one, amazing. Pushing for one. We have one, but only a handful of people use this. Amazing. So it sounds like there's a lot of room for you to grow your recurring giving program, your monthly giving program. Okay. So first, we're going to talk about Giving Tuesday. It's December 3rd this year. It's coming right up. The most common question I get when I talk to folks about asking for monthly gifts on Giving Tuesday is, are people actually going to do that on Giving Tuesday? And it can be intimidating to ask. Most of the people that I talk to on Giving Tuesday see smaller donations from large groups of people. When you're used to that, when you're used to getting a large volume of smaller gifts, asking for someone to support you in a different way can be really intimidating. So if you're worried, if you, and I saw you, there are a few of you, you're building this and you want to make a case maybe to your board or to the other people on your staff, they may ask you, but are people actually going to do this on Giving Tuesday? And the answer is yes. People are absolutely willing to set up a monthly gift on Giving Tuesday. And that is true for both existing supporters, people who are already in your database, and it's true for people who are brand new to your organization and have never made a gift before. When we looked at recurring donors in 2022, 409 people set up recurring gifts on Giving Tuesday. Most of them were existing donors, but 104 of those people were brand new to the organizations they were supporting. Those numbers went up the next year. 549 people set up new gifts. 165 of them were brand new to the organization. So we see these increases across the board. Increases in total gifts, increases in first-time donors making gifts, and increases in people who have given before but are setting up a recurring gift for the first time. It's happening across the board. And that signals that people are ready to support you with a monthly gift on Giving Tuesday. So if you are worried about asking your community for a monthly gifts on Giving Tuesday, that is totally understandable, especially if you've never done it before. But I hope these numbers reassure you that yes, people are out there who care so much about your cause that they are willing to support you month after month after month, and they are willing to do that on one of the biggest fundraising days of the year. Now, this always brings up a second question. It's the second most common question I get when I talk about this. If you ask for monthly gifts on Giving Tuesday and people make them, is that going to cannibalize? That's the word that I hear a lot. It's not my word. Is that going to cannibalize or hurt your year-end fundraising? The fear is that maybe someone would have given you $100 on December 30th, but they set up a monthly gift of $30 a month, and they might not make that bigger gift at the end of the year. So the answer to this question is no. Asking for monthly gifts on Giving Tuesday will not hurt your fundraising later in December if you do it right. And we'll get into that in a minute. This is an understandable concern. It is. But when we look at all giving, not just monthly giving, we found that organizations who participate in Giving Tuesday and then run a year-end campaign outperform, raise more than organizations that do not run a Giving Tuesday campaign. So keep that in mind. When you look specifically at monthly donors, we found that a significant percentage of people who initiated an ongoing gift on Giving Tuesday made another donation to the same organization before the end of the year. And the numbers are wild. In 2022, around 69% of those people made an additional gift. In 2023, that percentage went up to over 80%. I've said this before in other talks, and I'm going to say it again. People who decide to invest in your cause, their favorite cause, are your biggest fans, and they are some of your most valuable partners in your work. If you steward them well, if you intentionally build relationships with them and show them that their generosity is recognized and appreciated, they will continue to support you. So I see Angie's comment. I am extremely surprised by these statistics. I know, me too. Because this then begs the question, if these people are giving at this rate, how do you get them to make another gift? So there are a few steps you can take. The big thing that I would really encourage you to do for these new monthly donors is to create a really engaging welcome experience for them. I'll give some examples. I personally love a series of short welcome emails, but you do not have to limit yourself to that channel. You can try reaching out to them with phone calls. You can try sending notes. You can talk to them on social media. However you choose to do it, stay in touch with your new monthly donors in the days and even in the weeks after their gift. When you do so, when you're talking to them, tell them how much their support means, not only to you and your organization, but to the community or to the cause that you serve. And then as you're talking to them, remind them that their ongoing support is going to make a difference and then let them know that you're going to keep in touch with them and send them future updates. This will make them much more likely to look for and engage with your communications because they know that it's going to be coming. When you talk to this group of people, your goal is to make them feel like they're a really important part of something really special. They are not only a monthly donor, they are part of a dedicated group of people who are working together to make a difference in an area that they really care about. Make them feel like they're part of that community. So you're doing that, and then this is where that gift before the end of the year comes in. When the time comes, when you're sending out your year-end appeals, send a special version of that appeal to your monthly donors. In that appeal, you're going to want to acknowledge that they are currently an ongoing supporter of your work. You're going to want to thank them for that support, and then you'll make a case for additional support. This is going to, by necessity, look different than the appeal that you send to the rest of your donor base. You don't want a person who's already giving to you on a monthly basis getting exactly the same appeal that you sent someone who gave you $50 in March. But when you do this, when you spend a little extra time writing an appeal that is tailored to their experiences, it will be worth the extra effort. You will get more engagement, and you'll really, even if they choose not to make another gift, you'll send them an appeal that feels inviting instead of tone deaf. So there's that. Now, what about those people who make monthly gifts at the end of the year? Will people do that in December? And the answer is yes, again. Now, remember, these numbers that I'm showing you now don't reflect the entire month of December, okay? These numbers are only from the last 3 days of the year in 2022 and 2023. And the reason for that is because those are the 3 highest volume days of the year in terms of processed transactions. So when we looked at these numbers, we don't see the same daily volume that we saw on Giving Tuesday, but we do see people choosing over and over again to make monthly gifts at the end of the year. We saw a similar increase in gifts from 2022 to 2023 that we saw on Giving Tuesday. So in 2022, 478 people made monthly gifts to those 1,800 or some odd organizations. And that number went up to 580 in 2023. So we see a similar increase also in both new donors who are setting up monthly gifts and people who are existing donors who are setting up monthly gifts. Now, the year-over-year increases aren't quite as high as the increases we saw on Giving Tuesday, but these are significant increases nonetheless. And I'm going to reiterate this because I can't remember if I said it at the beginning of the session. These numbers are from a smaller group of people. So it's 1,800 organizations, 2,000 individual donors. So, I mean, these are still pretty significant increases across the board. There are also some nuances that we turned up in our analysis that I don't have time to dissect with you today. I'll give you an opportunity to download the report at the end. But this doesn't take into account some things that happened between 2022 and 2023. I know at least one organization launched a huge campaign in 2022 to get monthly donors. They didn't have the same campaign in 2023. Little things like that make these numbers still exciting, but they could be probably higher. And we'll talk about dedicated monthly giving programs in a minute. Okay, so we know people will make monthly gifts on Giving Tuesday. We know that they'll probably give again before the end of the year. And we know that people will make monthly gifts at the end of the year. So how do you ask for them? Does our research, does data tell us anything about why people do things? And the answer, of course, is yes, or I wouldn't have posed this question in the session. Now, so we just talked about that small group of donors, those 12,000 donors who made gifts in those 4 days of the year for 2 years in a row. Now, for the rest of this session, I'm going to focus on large-scale donor motivations and large-scale donor retention patterns that are from that larger study that I mentioned. So we're no longer looking at that small group of monthly donors. We are looking at the larger group of around 111,000 recurring donors. But across the board, whether it's the small group or the big group, the trends are basically the same. So part of the larger study that we published earlier this year looked at donor motivations and why people give. And the way we found this is we analyzed around 13,000 personal notes that people left during the gift initiation process. So when they landed on a form, they went to go set up a monthly gift. If a nonprofit gave them the option to leave a note asking or explaining why they're making a gift, this is what we're looking at. So what we did, and I won't get too in the nitty gritty because, again, I could keep you here all day. We downloaded all 13,000 notes. We cleaned them up. We scrubbed them of all personal identifying information. And then we used AI to identify repeating themes and sentiments in that note. What we found is that people do not approach monthly gifts in a transactional way. They don't give like they're paying a bill. They don't give because they want tax breaks. They don't give out of a sense of personal obligation, but they do give because they have a very deep, very personal connection to the cause. When we looked at these notes, they really each kind of fell into two categories. People had very personal connections in terms of their personal identifiers. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And they also gave because they were very emotionally connected in the cause. People gave because they were thankful for an organization's work. Thankfulness showed up a lot. They gave because they love their communities or because they wanted to honor or memorialize a loved one. They also gave because they were inspired by the mission. The term or the word inspired came up a lot. Thousands of these folks also referenced personal identity markers too. That includes things like age, background, religion, all kinds of things. Socioeconomic status came up a lot, which I thought was really interesting. But over and over again, people were talking about wanting to leave a better world for younger generations. They wanted to care for others like they received care. That turned up a lot. People received services from an organization or they would have benefited from services. And now they want to make that possible for other people. They talked about their religious motivations, their cultural backgrounds, even their sexual identities, their desire to help other people. People poured their hearts out in these notes, and what they had to say painted a really beautiful picture. These are passionate people who really care about the causes they support. And if you are like me and you're really fascinated by like donation form optimization, you know that the fact that people feel strongly enough about this to leave notes is fascinating. It was remarkable to me. So take that knowledge and use it in your appeals. Don't be afraid to ask your community to make a monthly gift to you. And this comes up a lot when I'm talking to fundraisers. When you are asking someone to make a monthly gift, you are not asking them to do something hard or unpleasant. You are not asking them to do something difficult or something they don't love. You're inviting them to be part of a broader community that is working together to further a mission that they really care about. So consider when you are planning your appeal, consider giving your community of monthly donors a name. I saw one, it was called Grub Club. Thought that was great. So there was Key Club. I've seen all kinds of fascinating monthly donor names. If you have a name for your program, drop it in the chat. I'd love to see it. The reason this is so important is because when someone becomes a monthly donor and your program has a name, they're not just a donor. They are part of an identifiable group of people, and that's really special. We love that connection psychologically. When you do that, share stories and share images and share talking points that evoke emotions in your donors and connect them more closely to your work. Tell them how their support is going to make a difference. Tell them what is going to happen because of their support and the support of the broader community. And then, of course, and this is so important, and I'll show you an example in a minute, make it easy to actually give. You don't want to get someone all excited about joining a really great group of people, making a difference in the world, and then have them get discouraged because there's a bad donor experience. Okay, if you take nothing else away from this, please include appeals for monthly gifts in your Giving Tuesday and your year-end strategies. You are not pestering people. You are not bothering them. You are inviting them to support a cause they love. When you ask, make it easy to give. And here are some tips for doing that. Add monthly giving options to your primary donation form. When people land on your site and they click the donate button, that's your primary donation form. When you do that, everyone who lands on that page will at least have the option to make a monthly gift even if they decide not to do that right away. You've planted that seed in their minds. Here's another tip. I love this personally. If you decide during the course of your Giving Tuesday or year-end campaigns to send an appeal specifically for monthly gifts, even if you're posting on social asking specifically for monthly gifts, point people to a donation form that defaults to a monthly gift. You can talk about monthly giving on your website. Anywhere you're talking about monthly giving, point people to a form that defaults to monthly giving. If you are clicking on an appeal and you want to set up a monthly gift and then you have to search around on the page to find the monthly gift option, it's not a good donor experience. So default to that in those instances. There are so many ways that you can plug a monthly giving program during this time of year. Social media is a great outlet. Talk about it at your galas or your events. Talk about it on live streams. Talk about it on social. Just focus on getting the word out. People can't decide to make a monthly gift to your organization if they don't know that that's an option. So just focus on drawing attention to it. Now, this all takes work, and you probably want to know if the investment of your time and energy and resources is going to pay off. So what happens beyond the new year? Are these folks really going to stay involved with you in the long run? The answer is yes, they will. Monthly donors support their favorite nonprofits for a long, long, long time. When we looked at those 111,000 donors and their activities over time, we found that they supported their favorite causes on average for more than 8 years. And that's compared to under 2 for one-time donors. Now, I'm never going to tell you not to focus on and celebrate your one-time donors, because you absolutely should. But what this does illustrate is that people are passionate about the causes they support with monthly gifts, and they will stay engaged. When you look at patterns for people who gave specifically on Giving Tuesday and during the end of the year, you see the same patterns. They have very high retention rates. They're very likely to stay engaged for a very long time. And the cool thing is that they're not just monthly donors either. They're not just staying engaged with you because they're just automatically sending you money every month. When I say that these folks are your biggest fans, I'm being very serious. When we looked at these thousands of donors, we found that they made additional one-time gifts. They pay for events. They pay for memberships. They are board members. They volunteer. And for some interesting context, from what we can tell, it looks like people are taking these actions without most of the organizations in the data set actually having dedicated monthly giving programs. And I can't get entirely into why we think that is the case, because I really would keep you here all day. But the big takeaway is that monthly donors are not just monthly donors. They are your partners, they are your advocates, and they are invaluable. They're going to engage with you other ways if you give them the opportunity. All right, few very quick tips because we're running out of time. I have some ideas for keeping them engaged long-term. The first thing, create a dedicated stewardship plan for your monthly donors. They deserve this. You are investing into them and they are investing in you. Now, I hope you don't look at putting together a stewardship plan as this terrible onerous thing, because this should be an opportunity for you to have a lot of fun with the people who love you. Of course, you're going to want to send segmented emails to this group of people. You're going to want to talk to them genuinely. You want it to feel personal. You're going to want to acknowledge their commitment in your communications with them. And you're going to want to make sure that everything you send them, sometimes even down to newsletters, are very tailored to them. So write your base copy, make a duplicate of it, tweak it for your monthly donors, and send them that. When you do send future appeals, and again, I really hope that you do, tell them how much you appreciate their existing support, and then make a case for additional support. If they don't choose to make another gift, that's fine. Just acknowledge that they're already a donor and invite them to continue making a difference. I would encourage you also not to limit your interactions only to email. Try other methods. Reach out to them personally. Meet up with them at an event. Pretend it's not 2024 and call them. That actually happened to a friend of mine. She made a gift, didn't really think about it. A few days later, she got a call from the development director of the organization. He just wanted to say hi and say thank you. And when I tell you that she told every single person in the office about what happened, I'm very serious. It made a huge impression, and it was just a very short phone call. An occasional perk can also make a huge impression. This doesn't have to be anything huge. It can be something like a discount code for an upcoming event. Maybe it could be a special version of a newsletter. If you wanted to really knock someone's socks off, maybe you could send a special snack or a small gift to people who have been monthly donors for a long time. You don't have to spend a lot of money to make an impression. Your goal is not to make a huge grand gesture here. Your goal is to do something small that reminds people that you see them and you value them and they are appreciated. These perks just really tie into that last idea, or this last idea. Whenever you can, look for opportunities to add a little delight to your monthly donors' lives. I'm a monthly donor to a few organizations. I got this card from Conservation Florida a couple weeks ago. It included just a simple, sweet note, and they gave me a sticker. And when I was delighted to get this card, it made my whole week. I messaged them on Facebook to tell them that they were doing a good job. And that sticker is on one of my water bottles. It makes my day every time I look at it. Those little small gestures, that simple phone call my friend got, that little sticker that they sent me in the mail, those make huge impressions on people. Look for opportunities to do that. I am nearly at time, but the biggest thing I want you to take away today is that you can do this. People want to support you with monthly gifts. They will do that during this season, but you do need to ask. You can ask on December 3rd. That's Giving Tuesday this year. You can ask during the month of rest of December. You can make the most of your efforts by building relationships with these people. And when you do that, when you ask and build relationships, they will support you again and again for years in lots of different ways. I'm going to leave you this, and we may have a minute for questions. If you want to get some Giving Tuesday and year-end fundraising resources, this is where you can do that. This also has a link to the report that we just published this morning on it. So snag that if you're into it.
Abby, you're amazing.
I just hope so much.
I hope that everyone in the chat that's watching can hear how quickly Abby is talking through all of this. That's because there is so much more that we have learned about this topic. So you can hear Abby speak at different events around the country or catch replays of different sessions that she's done. Make sure you connect with us on social media and also go to neon1.com/webinars and you'll find replays of the many different places that we've discussed this research all throughout 2024. So Abby, you did it and finished on time. If there are any last second things in the chat, we'll keep an eye on that. But if not, we want to invite you guys back to the main stage. We are going to play some GX 2024 trivia, which is going to be so much fun. So I got to rock back over there. We'll get the Wheel of Generosity ready. But don't bounce. We're going to be giving away 10 $100 donations to different nonprofits that are participating. So, Abby, we'll catch you back over there, and we'll see you some more tomorrow, all right?
Yes.
All right. GX 2024. Back to the main stage we go, guys. Catch you later.